research and joy, unity and joy, we facilitate, teaching and learning in all disciplines and cultures. Of Venus educational thoughts, between autonomous world of motion, amazing, it's a promoting innovation, upholding community, ability, and standards, transforming the Venus education. We respond with virtues and fast motion, we research and joy, unity and truth, we facilitate, teaching and learning in all disciplines and cultures, transforming Africa's education. AAU, the pillar of higher learning, scaling Africa's development. AAU, bond of friendship, power, fellowship, partnership for higher education. Africa's intellectual advancement are focused to achieve the freedom. We espouse with virtues and scholarship. We research and joy, unity and truth. We facilitate, teaching and learning in all disciplines and cultures, transforming Africa's education.
And that is how we set off today, this lovely morning. I don't know how it is for you, but you're all welcome to the day 3 of the African Universities Week celebration on the theme, Educate an African Fit for the 21st Century, Building Resilient Education Systems for Increased Access to Inclusive, Lifelong, Quality, and Relevant Learning in Africa. My name is Ajiman Otredako. You can call me Dr. Ajiman Otredako. My professor, Olusola Oyewole, will call me Dr. Prof. I want to say good morning to you wherever you are. All right, and welcome to all of you who've joined. Today promises to be an amazing day. We have a plethora of programs well crafted to share with you how the AAU has gone so far in building amazing partnerships, all to help achieve the cause of enhancing the relevance of higher education in Africa. So without missing words, I'll just give you an idea of what we have for you today. The first session is a regional and global partners session with Taylor and Francis at the center of it, looking at navigating medical and healthcare scholarly communication, ensuring integrity, transparency, and civility of research. So we have our Taylor and Francis team waiting to kick that off. And later, around 11 to 12, we also have a session on strategies for stimulating women's participation in STEM for sustainable development, AAU, which will be championed by the AAU Southern Africa Regional Office, hosted by the Women's University of Africa. And later from 1 to 2 GMT, we are assessing the gaps Africans look for greater progress on education, which will be championed by Afrobarometer. And to crown the day will be the 21st Century Pan-African Education, building strong institutional frameworks for economic and educational advancement by Marcus Garvey Institute for Human Development and Center for Global Africa, USA. So it promises to be an amazing day. So you have to be in tune. There will be a long break from the 3rd session to the 4th session. So I want to appeal to all participants this morning to kindly keep that on your calendar and don't leave us. We'll go for a break, and when we come back, you will be joining us for the last session. So that's what I want you to note. And today being the Regional and Global Partnership Day or Partners Day, I want to take this moment to share with you the AAU's dedication, profound dedication to enhancing partnerships. The AAU has a very ensuring vision to drive strategic partnerships that empower African universities to achieve excellence, innovation, and global competitiveness in higher education. And how do we do that? AAU is doing that through forging nurturing impactful partnerships with academic institutions, government, private sector entities, international organizations, thereby enhancing the capacity of African universities to deliver world-class education, foster research and innovation, and contribute to sustainable development of Africa. Here are some of the partnerships that the AAU has broken thus far. So the fundamental one is that the AAU has an Eastern Africa Regional Office, which was founded, inaugurated in March 2018, resides in Khartoum, in Sudan, and the Southern Africa Regional Office, which is also founded somewhere in also in 2023, 2024, which is also founded, signed recently. That the MOU was signed 22nd September 2023. And the Southern Africa Regional Office. We also have the Northern Africa Regional Office, which also resides in Cairo, Egypt since 2019. And then to also foster trans-boundary collaboration and partnership, the AAU also brokered the Europe Regional Office, which is also resided in the University of Nottingham in the UK in 2024. We also have the Latin America Regional Office, which is also resided in the Universidad Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, so 2024. We have also got partnerships with the China Association of Higher Education, 2023, the Latin America and Caribbean Space for Higher Education, the Association of Colombian Universities, ASCON. We can go down to MOUs and collaborations with Afrobarometer, ASEC. We'll go for the African Digital Library Support Network, OBRIEL, the Power of International, IIE, Taylor & Francis, CGA, New First, Ubuntu Alliance, World Association for Sustainable Development, WASCAL, Standby, Europa Zentrum, SGCI Plus, and a whole lot more, which will be coming up for you to appreciate the AAU's efforts to enhance the relevance of higher education, not alone, but join ties with other level-minded and also peer group, partner groups in higher education to support our efforts. At this moment, I want to men's work. I want to call upon and introduce our first session, which is navigating medical and healthcare scholarly communication, ensuring integrity, transparency, and accessibility of research, which will be championed this morning by our partners, Taylor and Francis. Do I have my Taylor and Francis colleagues in the house? So, there is a technical glitch. We're trying to reach our Taylor and Francis guest so they could interact with us this morning. I would want to call upon Dr. Mahmoud Rima Kahali from Taylor and Francis. I believe you are part of the delegates for this morning's session. You can raise your hand if you are part of the Taylor and Francis team so we can grant you access so we can have the morning session on. So I've been elected to now refer to my technical team lead, Enoch. Mr. Enoch, can you kindly give us
to be informed and responsible future leaders of Africa and also educate the youth of Africa on Africa's developmental blueprints and strategies.
Schools can collaborate with institutions to provide, seminars for students, job fairs for students to learn, to equip students to get ready for the job market.
Join me on the African Students Voices program this and every Friday at exactly 2 p.m. as I engage with students on the issues affecting them and the way forward. I am your host, Chimaima Daladem Duche. You can also follow us on our social media handles, Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube, AAUTV_African Universities on Twitter, and AAUTV Official on Instagram.
The African Union defines the African diaspora as consisting of people of native African origin living outside of the continent, irrespective of their citizenship and nationality, and who are willing to contribute to the development of the continent and the building of the African Union. In recognition of the enormous contribution of the diaspora to the continent, the Association of African Universities rolled out a program, Diaspora Connect, to identify and produce impactful interviews and documentaries that showcase the contributions of the African academics in the diaspora to institutions of higher learning in Africa. This program is partly funded by the Carnegie Corporation of New York. Featured on Diaspora Connect are fellows and hosts under the Carnegie African Diaspora Fellowship Program funded by the Carnegie Corporation of New York. Also featured on Diaspora Connect are coverages that showcase the recontextualization of African technology, art and culture towards the unification and rapid development of the continent. The diasporas are ready and willing to engage in meaningful thought and imagination that can guide the continent's efforts for emancipation, innovation and recreation. And Africa is ready for its 6th region. Follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook and YouTube at Association of African Universities and on Twitter at AAU_African Universities, as well as on our dedicated website at tv.aau.org.
Right. All right, welcome back, and we have our speakers ready. I'm so excited to meet my Taylor & Francis team members. So the very first, I have Catherine Cliff. Catherine, you're welcome. I also have Koromoto Power Fabrics, Dr. Majurima Kahali. You're all nice, young people, you're welcome. You're welcome to the morning session. I want to open up the room for you. Taylor & Francis is one of the world leading publishers, and you can really appreciate that they're committed to higher education, publishing the whole innovative knowledge that you can publish with higher education. I want to give the room to all of these speakers to kindly introduce themselves slightly and take us into the conversation on navigating medical and healthcare scholarly communication, ensuring integrity, transparency, and accessibility of research. Taylor & Francis, there you go.
Hi, hello everyone. Thank you, Dr. Darpo, for this opportunity to speak. Give me a second to just share my screen with everyone here. Okay, great. I hope you're able to see the screen. I'll just put it on slideshow.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, so good morning, everyone. I would like to express my sincerest gratitude to the AAU for this incredible opportunity to connect with researchers and academics across Africa. At Taylor & Francis, partnerships are at the heart of what we do, and we're truly honored to be a part of this event today. Our partnership with AAU began in 2022, and through this association, we've been able to reach thousands of researchers across the continent. And I think there's no looking back for us in this partnership, and we're only looking at the way forward. So before we begin our presentations, I would like to thank and congratulate Professor Olusola, Secretary General, Ms. Nodumo, Mr. Ransford, and the AAU for their invaluable contributions to advancing the quality and relevance of higher education in Africa, and also for their dedication to supporting the continent's development. I'm Madhurima, the head of marketing at Taylor & Francis, responsible for open research and researcher engagement. If I introduce myself, I have over a decade of experience in the publishing industry and a background as a researcher. Myself, I do feel a deep sense of connection with many of you in the audience today. Our session today will focus on publishing in medicine and healthcare, with an emphasis on publishing ethics and research integrity. In an age of information overload, trustworthy, impactful research is of utmost importance, and this will be the core theme of our session today. The session is structured into 3 parts. I'll start by discussing some of the work that we've been doing with researcher communities in Africa. We've seen remarkable publications across subject areas from the region. Catherine Cliff will then expand on the topic, highlighting impactful contributions from Africa and also taking you through our medicine portfolio of journals. Finally, Dr. Koro will lead the last part of our session, focusing on research integrity and publishing ethics, an area of utmost priority to Taylor and Francis, and of course, researchers in general. So with that introduction, let's dive right into the presentations today. So a bit of an introduction about Taylor and Francis. We are a very old company, about 200 years old. We are a leading publisher of research across STEM and HSS disciplines. You can see below some of the imprints that we publish. Taylor and Francis has been partnering with institutions and societies in Africa for more than 15 years with the aim of supporting and promoting African scholarship worldwide. We are proud to be the only international commercial publisher which has an editorial team on the ground in South Africa. And our ethos is to publish in partnership, working with local leaders to combine the advantages of international reach with the embeddedness in local networks. TNF offers a range of content platforms to readers for knowledge. They are built around author and researcher needs with the aim of facilitating discovery and allowing users to access relevant research and information quickly and easily wherever they're located. Along with journals, there are archives complementing current content in libraries and allowing researchers to explore centuries of academic excellence across 32 key subject disciplines. You can see here the vast amount of content that we offer to researchers, starting from journals to books, books in various formats, print and ebooks. So we are also a leading OA publisher. Now, open access makes published academic research freely and permanently available, so anyone, anywhere can read and build upon this research. At TNF, we champion researcher choice with a variety of open access publishing options to meet the unique needs of every author. We have been partnering with institutions and societies in Africa for over 15 years with the aim of supporting and promoting African scholarship worldwide. Our journal portfolio includes about 70 journals from the African continent, spanning STEM and humanities subject areas. The majority of our titles are covered by various indexes like Web of Science and Scopus. We have 3 major co-publishing partnerships with the UNISA Press, NISC, and MedPharm. And the majority of our African journals are also published in partnership with African societies as well as institutions. We have several consortia partnerships, including some key partnerships in South Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and many others. Now, beyond journal publishing, we have collaborated with and advised both National Research Foundation and the Department of Higher Education on matters related to research and publishing. Through regular training workshops and seminars, we support a community of 1 million plus researchers throughout the region. Our website saw 7 million plus users from Africa this year. In addition, we do participate in key development initiatives such as Research for Life, AJOL, and AuthorAid. Now, all of these initiatives reflect on the numbers shown in this slide. So as you can see, we have published over 20,000 chapters in African studies. There are over 1,200 books by African authors. There are more than 17,000 articles published from Africa between 2020 to 2024. Now, Julie Reid, who is from our partner institute UNISA, says it is high time more was done to amplify voices from the Global South. And this partnership that they have with TNF forms part of the mission. So at TNF, we are doing our bit for the last 15 years to help drive African scholarship globally. We work with researchers, institutes, and societies in doing so. From making sure that your content is discoverable, indexed, and relevant to aiding equity in access through the many open access solutions we offer. Our post-publication services make sure that your content reaches the widest audience possible, including not just academics, but other professionals, policymakers, and lay audiences. Now, between 2022 to 2024, we have conducted over 100 webinars and training sessions across Africa. We partnered with institutes and highly acclaimed societies like yours. And I'm very proud to showcase the quotation that was sent to us by Professor Secretary General of Association of African Universities. So we've partnered with several institutes, including AU, Addis Ababa University, several universities in South Africa, Uganda, Tanzania, and so many others. We saw huge participation from countries like Ghana, Nigeria, Ethiopia, South Africa, and had audiences from over 10 countries across Africa. Over here, you can see highlighted some of the key topics that we've been talking about. So our training is focused on good publishing practices, publishing ethics, books and journal article, publishing in trending areas like genomics, engineering, agriculture, and many others. We've also carefully incorporated feedback from the attendees to create training and content that is more relevant for researchers in these regions. As a company, we are aligned to the mission's TISA 2024, to support which we have put in accelerated efforts on growing our STEM content across Africa. We are working with researchers and institutes across Africa and currently have over 100 ongoing book projects in STEM. Our conversations with the research community helped us identify your focus on the fourth industrial revolution, to support which we have developed book series in the growing areas of manufacturing, production, and materials engineering. The country's focus on the UN Sustainable Development Goals led to work closely with researchers in areas like water management, agriculture, zero waste, public health, and food sciences. So we are also part of many global initiatives, as well as work on bespoke offerings for researchers. We have created a copyrights and publishing ethics booklet for researchers in Africa. More and more readers are accessing our state-of-the-art open access content. OA makes sure that all barriers to access are removed, and researchers anywhere in the world can access the final version of record immediately and permanently. We also make high-impact non-OA content from Africa free of cost in our directions and provocations page, which sees downloads from over 50 countries across the globe, with 60% downloads coming in from African researchers. Our STAR program is an initiative developed to provide authors and researchers with free access to articles from our leading journals, both international and regional ones. Over here, you can also see some of the stats from our open access journal. So we have in the last 2 or 3 years over 7,000 open access articles published from Africa. 35% of the content that is coming in from Africa is actually published open access with TNF. And 1/3 of this content is published in underfunded areas such as humanities and social science. You also see 5 million plus downloads of our full open access content from Africa in the last year. And increasingly, we have more and more authorship in our open access books. So right now we have 49 full open access books from African authors. So we do stand by the statement, local partnerships, global networks, and through our various partnerships reach thousands of researchers and disseminate the content produced to a global audience. We also bring in experts from across the globe in the form of editors, reviewers, and in-house experts to work alongside the researchers. We have 3 major publishing partners. A media partner, The Conversation Africa, where hundreds of the articles that are published in TNF journals are converted into news pieces and blogs and sent across mainstream media. And we do have several consortia and gateway partners through our F1000 open access platform, which is called Open Research Africa. It is an open research publication platform built in partnership with the Science for Africa Foundation for African researchers to publish their findings. The mission is to share quality research from Africa with the world and enable rapid sharing, discovery, use and reuse of African research for the benefit of all. And we truly value the feedback from our trusted partners and strive to work to serving you better. So these are just some of the feedback that we've received from our partners, and we always feel motivated and want to work closer than ever with the researcher communities across the globe. So with that, I come to the end of my presentation. If you have questions, I'd love to take them after the next two presentations. Feel free to contact me via email or also find me on LinkedIn. You can also use this QR code here, just scan it, and you'll be able to sign up for updates, communication resources, and specific training and events that we do. I think it is of a lot of benefit to researchers here. So please do scan this code, and so we are able to reach out to you more easily. With that, I'd like to pass on the stage to Catherine, who is our next speaker, who's going to talk about impactful publications from Africa, as well as generally about the medical publication portfolio that we have with TNF. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen now. Okay, hopefully you can all see that, and it should be in presenter mode. Firstly, thank you for welcoming me here to speak with you today. I'd just quickly like to let you know a bit about myself before we get started. At Taylor & Francis, I look after a portfolio of reproductive medicine journals. These are a mix of those published by Taylor & Francis, Dove Press, and in partnership with a number of international societies. I have more than 20 years experience in journals publishing, so hopefully that puts me in a good position to talk to you about how to get published today. My intention is that by the end of this presentation, you'll be well informed about preparing for and submitting your work for journal publication, and will also have awareness of things to consider to get you successfully published. I have quite a few slides, but won't discuss all in detail. I just wanted to include plenty of references for further information. During the session, we'll look at the broad range of opportunities to publish with Taylor & Francis, impact of research, how to choose a suitable journal, tips on writing your article, preparing for the submission process, look at what happens during peer review and potential outcomes. At Taylor & Francis, we publish cutting-edge research across a wide range of specialities in medicine and healthcare. You can explore the publications via this link to see highlighted journals within each speciality, as well as the full journal list for each speciality. We have a broad range of journals for you to choose from. These include diverse portfolio of open access titles under Dove Medical Press, Taylor & Francis own journals, journals published in partnership with societies, the Expert Collection, which is the world's largest series of review journals in research, development and clinical medicine, the Expert Medicine Collection, where experts provide critical insights into the latest research, where the research should go and how it should get there. Impact is about looking at the effects of a piece of research has had. There are many different ways research could have an impact depending on the nature of the work. Some key areas of impact are academic impact, so the impact research makes in academia, for example, advancing and developing understanding, methods and theory within the field or across disciplines. Cultural or societal, so the impact research can have on people, culture and society. Policy, so the impact of research on policy formulation, for example, using research as evidence to influence policy decisions. Economic impact, so impacting business and economic growth or development. Environmental, impacting the environment, and health, such as the development of new drugs or influencing change in medical practice. In the following slides, I wanted to quickly highlight how some recently published Taylor & Francis journal articles by African researchers have influenced the policies of organisations. Firstly, this article detailed here compared the performance of infrared thermometers with traditional oral electronic thermometers in measuring the body temperature of outpatients in a Nigerian hospital. The researchers found that infrared thermometers may be less accurate than traditional oral thermometers. The study went on to be cited in a paper on temporal thermometers by Canada's Drug Agency. In this review by researchers from Egypt, there was a focus on bacterial resistance, the history and spread of resistance, and how to detect resistance in infections. It also looked at possible options for treatment. This review is cited in a World Health Organization report. And thirdly, this study examined how the WHO's maternal near-miss approach can be used in Namibia and other middle-income countries to reduce deaths due to complications during pregnancy and childbirth. The study is cited in a WHO bulletin article on providing maternal health care in low-resource settings. A journal that is not a good fit for your work can slow down the publishing process significantly, so it is important to take this part of the process seriously and be thoughtful about your choice. It can be difficult to know where to begin when looking for a potential journal to publish in. It is important to research your publishing options, so consider open access, read, look at journals within your areas of interest, talk to colleagues about their experiences and recommendations, understand how your publications will be assessed, for example, the different types of peer review that may be applied. And once you've identified a potential list of journals, you can then look more closely at the aims and scope statements for each. So following on from the mention of the aims and scopes, it's really important. The aims and statements are designed to give librarians, students, researchers and potential authors a clear understanding of what the journal is about and the type of research they are interested in publishing. Here's an example from the International Journal of Women's Health. It's a broad subject journal, but still has some requirements, which I've highlighted here. They relate to article types and topic coverage. So it's really important to read these because you'll find out what types of articles they will consider and the specific topics they're interested in. So you need to make sure that your research and article type is a good fit to the journal that you're planning to submit to. I also mentioned that you should research your publishing options as part of the process of choosing a journal, specifically relating to whether publishing your work open access is an option, as this may help to determine the most appropriate journal based on publishing type. Publishing open access essentially has two elements. Firstly, making content freely available, and secondly, making content reusable by a third party. There are two ways in which an author can publish open access with Taylor & Francis, either in a fully open access journal or in what we call a hybrid journal, and these are known as Open Select at Taylor & Francis. Fully open access journals publish all of their content open access. These journals are not funded by subscriptions. Instead, most charge an article publishing charge, or APC. In Open Select or hybrid journals, an author chooses to publish open access in a journal that is subscription funded. So much of the content in the journal is not freely accessible unless you or your institution has a subscription. But by an author choosing to make an article open access, it becomes freely available to all within that journal. And again, there'll be an article publishing charge to cover the publication cost for those. Establishing if you have funding available to support the publication of your research open access will help to determine which journal is the most appropriate to submit to. Open access can support you as an author to reach maximum potential with your research. With this in mind, I just wanted to quickly mention some of the enablers for supporting open access publication beyond the funders of the research here at Taylor & Francis. Transformative arrangements are made with Taylor & Francis at institution and country level and enable open access publishing. Conditions vary between the various arrangements in place, but typically relate to the corresponding author affiliation. I just wanted to draw your attention to the South African National Library and Information Consortium Agreement, which was announced earlier this year. This covers authors in South Africa, Namibia, and Botswana to publish open access in Open Select journals and also to get a discount in fully open access Taylor & Francis medicine journals. I also wanted to note that researchers in countries defined by the World Bank as low-income economies, which set based on gross domestic product GDP, can apply for 100% APC waiver, whilst researchers in countries defined by the World Bank as lower middle-income economies can apply for a 50% discount. It is also possible to request a discretionary waiver during the manuscript submission process to Taylor & Francis medicine journals. These are considered on a case-by-case basis. And just wanted to highlight that at Taylor & Francis, we also have a handy journal suggestive tool to help you find the most suitable journal for your research. You simply paste your abstract in the box and you'll get a list of suggested journals for you to explore further. Once you have identified a suitable journal, you're then ready to write your article in a way that will support successful publication. And so I just listed some tips here for doing that. So firstly, check the journal's instructions for authors page. Some journals will have specific formatting requirements, whereas others will have a more flexible approach to initial submission structuring. So it's really important to adhere to journal-specific requirements. If the journal does have specific requirements, be sure to follow these. Look at examples. Papers that have been published in the journal have achieved what you are setting out to do, so are great examples to look at. Keep your message focused. This is essential to convey how your research adds to the existing literature. Write first, edit later. And remember, getting feedback from others is an essential part of the editing process before submitting your article. Make it consistent and easy to follow, so be sure to use accessible language where possible. Editors, reviewers, and ultimately readers of the journal will appreciate this. And remember to cite your sources correctly, and also consider including a plain language summary. We'll look at these in a bit more detail in a moment. Going back to the point related to the instructions to authors, prior to writing your article, it's imperative that you read and follow the instructions for authors. Every journal will have these, which you can find on the website. These are the rule books for the journal. Under the instructions for authors, you'll find information that will guide you in writing your article, with information including the types of articles they accept, and word limits for the articles, reporting guidelines, especially for medical titles, and information about how you should prepare your manuscript, so formatting, heading, reference style, and also information about data sharing policies, amongst plenty of other useful information. Some of the Taylor and Francis medicine journals now encourage the inclusion of a plain language summary, and for some journals this is now a requirement. These are usually in the form of a couple of paragraphs that appear in the published article after the abstract. These are very useful, and they communicate the significance of scholarly and scientific research evidence to wide audiences in clear, jargon-free language. The audiences include practitioners, policymakers, the public, and/or professionals in nearby disciplines. They increase article reach, and they're freely available to read. So I've just included an example here of a plain language summary published in Expert Review of Clinical Immunology. Before you submit your article, do remember to have a final check to ensure everything is in order. If it isn't, it can cause delays to the process and even lead to the article being rejected. So remember to check the following. Have you included all necessary elements? Have you considered matters such as data sharing, authorship, and competing interests? Does your paper comply with journal requirements? Have you cited sources appropriately? Did you have another pair of eyes read through your article? And there's a useful page linked to here with a more comprehensive checklist to guide you. In most cases, when you do submit to a journal, you'll be submitting to an online submission system such as ScholarOne or Editorial Manager. Most Taylor and Francis medicine journals use Submission Portal. This is an intuitive, easy-to-use submission site linked to the ScholarOne and Editorial Manager peer review systems. The Submission Portal removes the need to have multiple system accounts because it provides one centralised system and dashboard that displays past and present submissions. As your manuscript will be subjected to the peer review process, I thought it would be useful just to look into this aspect in a bit more detail. Not only is it controlled, but peer review is also a form of collaboration between researchers. Peer reviewers will ask themselves the following questions. Is the article a good fit for the journal? Does it follow our guidelines? Is the research novel and making a contribution to the field? Is it sound science? Does the evidence support the findings? Does the author clearly communicate their findings? Are there any ethical issues? Peer review validates the research. Editors and peer reviewers, when accepting a paper, are giving it a stamp of approval, confirming that it is sound science. Keep in mind there are different models of peer review that journals use. The model for a specific Taylor and Francis medicine journal will be detailed in the instructions for authors. And I've just put in this slide just to show the typical types of peer review that you may come across. Once your manuscript has been submitted, it will move through a number of stages. So I've just included this as an overview of a typical process. So once you've submitted your manuscript, the first thing it would go through would be the admin checks. So this is where your it'll be checked to make sure it complies to those instructions for authors that you've read and checked against when you've been submitting. If it doesn't meet these requirements, then you most likely face a desk reject at that point, or be asked for changes to be made. If it does pass the stage, then it will move into a cycle where it's assigned to an editor-in-chief or an associate editor, who would invite reviewers, receive feedback, and communicate this back to you, and then lead to possible outcomes of revisions. So they could be minor or major, an accept decision or a reject, and you could see this go around several cycles. To help ensure you are successful in publishing your work, it is useful to understand some of the common reasons for articles to be rejected. I've listed some of them here. So we've got sent to the wrong journal, not a true journal article, not following journal-specific author guidelines, poor regard of the journal's conventions, academic writing, poor style, grammar, punctuation or English, no contribution to the subject, libelous, unethical, rude or lacks objectivity. And here are some reasons for manuscripts being rejected more specific to medicine. So unsound, so this could relate to study sample size, statistical analysis, etc. Missing clinical trial approval, so to be published in a Taylor and Francis journal, all clinical trials must have been registered in a public repository, ideally at the beginning of the research process, so prior to participant recruitment. Trial registration numbers should be included in the abstract, with full details in the methods section. Another reason for rejection is missing disclosures. These sometimes require grant numbers, and if there are no competing interests, they should also be declared. No clinical trial protocol documents is another reason